Ever been just sewing along, minding your own business, and then terrible noise, and you end up getting this? What is this? I'll show you how to fix it. Coming up. Hey, Chanel here, bringing you weekly videos to help you get better and better with your fashion sewing projects and be more creative too. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, and we'll let you know when the next videos are out. Okay, so how does this happen? These are some maps that we use in our classes. We just get a piece of fabric and draw a line and sew on it. Every time we thread our machines to make sure they're threaded right. This is actually just for practice, but this right here, this started up at the top. So she started here, and look at all that thread right here. I know exactly how that happened. And this actually will break your machine because a lot of times it's just, I think she came back over here and it just happened one little time right here. What it does is if you don't put the presser foot down. So actually start here and you just forget to put the presser foot down. On some of the newer electronic machines, the machines won't sew without it. So that is actually a really good spot. It'll just go beep, 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 beep. And people are like, what's wrong with my machine? You're like, oh, gotta put the presser foot down. So right here, if I hit this, I even hate doing this to my machine. It'll just mess it all up. Let's say I'm going like this. And I'm like trying to push it through. And then I'm like, and a lot of times I gotta tell you, it never happens for me. I don't know why. But and then I'm sewing through here. Oh, yeah, there it is. So take this out. This didn't clump up. This is pretty bad, actually. So that's what it does. And then if you don't catch it, like if you actually will sew it, let's say we leave it up here, you sew it, oh, I forgot, and then you put it down, and then you sew it, sometimes you get away with it being okay. You have a little slug right here, but it moved on. But if you keep on pushing it, it will just really jam up. This probably, I don't think she continued on with green thread, or actually it looks like the green thread was the top thread, so it just got really jumbled up here. And if you just, it's like if your transmission in your car is going, you keep driving, it just makes it worse, so you want to stop with that. And one of the other things that happens a lot, and it makes a terrible noise when you're sewing, and a lot of times you'll just be sewing along and then all of a sudden it just makes this terrible noise like that. And what happens is the thread gets dislodged out of this guy up here, which is called the take-up lever. On the older machines, this take-up lever would come up and it had like a hole in it, and you would thread it and then continue on. So that thread would never dislodge because there was no slide in here. Nowadays, this comes up, slides in there, and comes back down, which means it can jump out of that lever there. So when that happens, actually I just threaded this so that it is not threaded on here, and you're going to hear this when I hit the gas, and it's going to be a terrible noise, and I hate it because it could ruin your machine. Okay, you ready? So if you ever hear that kind of motion happening, oh, this is what's happening underneath there. And it didn't even stitch at all because it can't stitch because I'm surprised it just doesn't even stop. But that's what happens when it doesn't hit this take-up lever. And how you can fix it is actually I take this thread here, because what it did was it came up here, just missed that. So and then I got it under the hook part here. So you can take this and then scoop it right to left to make sure it's all up there. Then I can try this again, and it should work fine. Just like that. Oh, and also, if you ever see this happening right here, there's a lot of threads. Oh, yeah, this usually doesn't happen for me, so I'm glad it did, because I can never show anybody. But actually, I'll just kind of yank it. But what I'll do is, if I take the hand wheel, wiggle, 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 and sometimes go around, it will come out. It's this third thread, or it gets caught in there. It's not really a third thread. It gets caught in there. Sometimes it doesn't stop in the right revolution, and it gets a bunch of threads, and you just wiggle, wiggle in the hand wheel, and then you can pop it out like that. So don't panic when that happens. Just, I don't know, in these older machines it does that. The electronic ones, they always stop in the same spot. That's why the needle, whenever you hit the gas to stop it, or vice versa, the needle stops and hits down, and then you have to hit the button for the needle to come up, and that prevents all of that happening. But now it's threading fine. A lot of times when that actually happens, you just want to re-thread it right there. You also want to make sure it gets really connected into your top part. It comes down here. There's a disc under there. This is the tension dial that regulates that disc. It either tightens it or loosens it, and you want it just to be a nice medium pull in here. You could always be pulling your threads and feel that there's a tension in there. It should just be slight. It should never be loose and never tight. And that's your tension dial. Also, in our school, I ask everybody, just don't play with this dial. I've actually had some people just go thinking it's going to do something, and it's actually kind of damages the machine, because it's like moving that disc back and forth, and it loosens it up. So that's the two problems there. Don't hit the take up lever, or it just bounces out. It happens a lot. And I guess it comes from just not really being good at the flow of the machine yet. I notice it happens to a lot of my beginners, but more advanced students, it happens less and less. You just get used to the operation of the sewing machine and how to run it smoothly. And always make sure you put your presser foot down. One of the other things that happens a lot, I get a lot of people when they pull these strings off, or the threads off here, and they cut it too close right there, when actually you want to pull it out here and then cut it. That's why this is actually, the cutter is over here. You cut it here, and I always say leave a tail about 9 inches, which is about actually 9 inches from here to here. So like 7, 8, 9 inches there. Now if you cut it too short here and you go to sew right here, it comes unthreaded right there. So I've had, why does my machine keep coming unthreaded when I start? And that's usually simply the reason. It's not threaded right. Just take it out, re-thread everything. If you're having any threading problems, just re-thread it and make sure you thread it right, and then you shouldn't have any more problems. Well, I hope some of those tips helped, and you get all your sewing done and you don't have any problems. I gotta tell you, at my school, a lot of people blame the machine, and it's 95% usually operational error is what I call it. And it's the way you thread it. You miss something, or just some little mishap. And I'm always with my students, you just got to really get good at threading a machine. It should become muscle memory. Just thread it. And then also paying attention to the feel of the thread, how it's pulling through the machine. Hearing noises, you just get to know your machine. It starts making a funny noise. A lot of times it's just always the threading. So I've never really had machines break. I had one machine that just the motor got real slow. They do break when you slam the presser foot down. All those little screws in there start to loosen up, so you don't want to do that. And just get really good at threading and spend some time doing the drills. I know when I took volleyball, they made us do drills all the time, and I hated it, but it made me a better player. Not that I am now, but if you just do the drills, get good at that basic threading a machine, then you just thread it like in 20 seconds. Literally, we have contests here. 20, 30 seconds, thread a machine, and you're on to the good stuff. That's what I always tell my students. So Get good at threading, and you won't have that threading problem. See you in the next SewBit.